Hello, my name's Jade, and today we will be discussing the third book in the Throne of Glass series, HEIR by Sarah J. Maas. Okay, so then we have Manon and her storyline. Now, Manon's obviously a new character, but I've heard of her name come up before, so I was like, oh, it's you. I've heard of you. And she's probably going to meet up with Selena, I would imagine relatively soon. One of them, at least, relatively soon. It might not be Selena. The thing that we never kind of really have a hardcore answer to was the smell and things. Right in the beginning, when we have like the Duke or his men or something, she says they smell off. They smell weird. And then in the Omega, she says that the Omega smells weird. It smells like the weird men. The mutton, the food they're giving to the dragons, tastes weird. And the blood of the men, it tastes decaying. And it's all smelling and tasting weird. And eventually, she's just like, okay, we're gonna hunt for our wyverns elsewhere. And we're not gonna eat their food anymore. Which I liked. I like that thinking. And I wonder what it was. I wonder if they were like poisoning them or drugging them somehow to kind of like try and manipulate them. Or maybe it was just like a side effect of this obsidian-esque magic Volg, something to do with that. I wonder how many of the King's men actually knew about the witches and the wyverns and what was going on. Adrian guessed about it as something like he knew that the witches were going to the Ferrian Gap, or maybe he knew about the wyverns. He put something together. I remember thinking like, oh, clever boy. And a lot like the Fae, we learn a lot more about witches. I still don't think we have everything fleshed out, but we know a lot more. They started aging when magic left, so I imagine it's in their best interest to get magic back. I'm assuming they don't know that the King's the one that took it away from them. I wonder if they did though. If that's all it's going to take for them to switch sides. They used to ride brooms, and that just sounded so cool to me. They have like a second eyelid thing for when they used to fly their brooms. I wonder if they're ever going to get brooms back now, or if they're just wyvern riders. I mean, the way they described them riding wyverns, it kind of described it as if this was always meant to be their purpose. And these witches, kind of similar to how feral the Fae can be, and how they're always growling and snarling at each other. Witches, they're not too far off. They're pretty vicious. They're kind of out for blood all of the time. Her grandmother was vicious, and I don't like her. I'm assuming she's gonna go. Either she's gonna go or Manon's just gonna overtake her. I wonder if like come time where Manon should overtake her grandmother gonna be like, no, you don't deserve it. And like, we're gonna have to kill her. I wonder if we're even gonna get to that stage though. If Manon's gonna rebel before then. I wonder if Manon's gonna rebel. Oh, here it is. Manon and her 13 obviously, and all of her witches, all the Black Beaks are with her. They're gonna rebel. Maybe some of them will end up scuttling off, but her 13 will stand with Manon. And I bet Petra, because Manon saved her, and they've kind of almost got a kind of an alliance going on. I wasn't really sure whether to trust her or not, but I think we can. So the Blue Bloods, they're gonna go with the Black Beaks, and Yellowlegs Iskra is gonna be like, oh no, I'm not coming with you. King's witches and Manon's grandmother and Iskra versus like Petra, Manon and her 13 who are gonna turn good. Do we think? I think. But Manon's grandmother wants her to become wing leader and then land on the Iron Throne or something, become the head witch. Is there a head witch right now on the Iron Throne? Oh, is this assuming they take their land back? I'm assuming there is no head witch right now. It's just the 3 leaders of the 3 different covens. I loved Abraxas. I was so mad when Iskra pushed her in. Good things aren't coming from Iskra. She's gonna die. I think that's where we're going. I don't think she's gonna turn good. She might turn good. I think it's more likely that she's gonna die. I kind of hope she dies. And I'm so glad that like Titus died, so then Iskra couldn't have him either. The way she stood up for Abraxas, and like they have like some kind of connection in the way that she can talk to him. Petra says it as well, that she could talk to her wyvern, which is why it was so sad when they died. So good, because it was sad that I can't remember her name, Petra's wyvern dying. And that's what like spurred her into saving Petra. The way Abraxas is influencing her, making her have emotions. And Manon herself says something about it at some point, like how ironic it was that wyverns are supposed to be these cold-hearted monsters, and yet they have a heart. The wyverns were meant to kill and maim and strike terror into the hearts of their enemies, and yet, Manon looked towards the star-flecked horizon, leaning her face into a warm spring breeze, grateful for the steady, solid companion lounging behind her, a strange feeling, that gratitude for his existence. I loved it when they flew. I think it was for the first time. She had not understood what it had been like for him to live his entire life underground, chained and beaten and crippled, until then, until she heard that noise of undiluted and yielding joy. And she echoed it, tipping her head back to the clouds around them. And Manon, because no one was watching, because she did not care, flung out her arms as well and savoured the freefall, the wind now a song in her ears, in her shriveled heart. Oh my goodness, when she stole that spider silk, that made me really nervous. I wonder if that's gonna come back to bite her in the butt, because this arachnid spider queen, where she'd been described in The Assassin's Blade, was like she was kind of all powerful and someone you don't want to mess with. Oh, and we also hear, is this a spoiler for The Assassin's Blade? If you haven't read The Assassin's Blade, mute the screen until this picture leaves. Starting now. We heard about Ansel. She came from the Witch Kingdom, did she not? I don't remember if it was Briarcliff exactly. I don't think it was. I think it was just like a random village in the Witchlands. And she's like now High Queen. And Manon is like, you will not be High Queen. So I bet we're gonna see her again. I wonder if Selena will be there and how that will go. I am interested to see that. I love how solid the 13 are. We started getting names. There's like Asterin and Sorrel, and I can't remember who's who because there's so many of them. I wonder if we're just going to keep hearing their names over and over again, and so we'll kind of differentiate better who's who. Asterin's her second. Is Sorrel her third? I'm hoping we get to know them better. I would like that a lot. We have the scene with the Crocken Witch, and I was so confused and kind of been like, what was up with the Iron Teeth versus the Crockens? And the Crockens cursed the Iron Teeth land. I don't think we know anything about before that, only that the Iron Teeth are now going around killing all of the Crockens. Honestly, I think I side with the Crockens. The Iron Teeth, they're not very nice. They go around eating people. The way the Crocken was like, I feel sorry for you because you're not made evil, you're raised to be evil and heartless and soulless. And the way the Queen was like acknowledging all of it. I think things are gonna have to change. I wonder if ultimately there's gonna be an alliance between the Crockens and the Iron Teeth. And it's gonna be kind of like, I don't really like you, but sure, I won't kill you, I guess. That kind of thing. Frenemies. They're off to Moath. Duke Parrington is right, and Ronan. Forgot about Ronan. Will he come back to play? I can only assume he will. She kind of ends it going back on herself a little bit about how she's going to do whatever the king wants, and she ultimately must get her home back and be on the Iron Throne. But I imagine she's going to turn good. I can't see how she's going to not. I don't know how I feel about Manon. Honestly, I heard a lot of reviews saying that those sections were their least favourite. I loved those sections, and I don't know if it's just because it was also different and interesting and new. I just really loved the sections. That's not to say that I loved Manon. I don't dislike her. I like how strong she is and how she's pretty secure in herself. I'm not completely sold on her though. She still seems pretty savage and brutal. I think she's got more to go. I don't know how much I trust her with our characters. I kind of trust her with Selena because Selena can kind of fight back. Kyle, I guess he as well. He's pretty stubborn and sturdy. Maybe even Adian. Don't trust her right now with Dorian. He's too much of a precious little puppy. But I've heard rumors of what happens. I'm intrigued to see what happens. And I wonder what's going to happen more than what's just going to happen with that. I'm so invested. Okay. Then we have Kale and Dorian and Adian. Their sections were kind of my least favourite, I think, just because less tended to be happening. It was just more kind of gathering information, so it was really interesting at times and I think important. He has the Sword of Orinth. Another sword, we have Wind Cleaver, Gold Ring, No Thumb, Damaris, Sword of Orinth. Is that all of them? Right now, Kyle's kind of swordless because he has Damaris, but I can only assume that's going to go into Dorian because it's Dorian's sword at the end of the day. So he has Gold Ring. Kyle needs a cool sword. Canadian's also like a half fae, I think. He has a black ring, and at first that made me really nervous, but he could smell something was wrong with it. He's got like really heightened senses, like better than Selena, I think. He's got faster reflexes and stuff like that. When he was having the whole parties, and I did think that maybe not everything, he's not as we seemed, although I really didn't trust him because of the ring for a long time, and after what happened with Ronan and just like not knowing where we stood with him, I was really scared. And then we also saw him with Ren because it's like a guy with long hair and two daggers, like the way he'd been described in Crown of Midnight, and to that it was a big giveaway that he's probably a rebel. Kale kept pushing off going to Aniel. He owed his dad a favour. He's a man of his honour. At the end he's like, oh, I'm not going to NEL, and it was really cool. Does he still owe his dad a favour? Because I was just seeing all of the horrific ways that could play out. Kale tells Adian that Alien is still alive. It was so nice the way that he described his feelings for her, and he was so loyal against everything else. I am supposed to protect her, and like how he was when he was a kid. It's okay that I'm your only friend, I'm gonna be the best friend that you can possibly have. So sweet. It's like really gone up in my mind. Coven, that had been his most beloved title. Cousin, kin, protector. Those were secret names he harboured deep within, the names he whispered to himself when the northern wind was shrieking through the staghorns. I wonder how he's going to take to Rowan. That'll be fun to watch. I liked the kind of little relationship that started between Kale and Aiden and their friendship. Oh, we have the scene in the passageway where kind of Kale gets Aiden up to date with like the word keys and everything, and I love how like they trusted each other and they had this little alliance. And Dorian overhears it all, and he like says about how he turns his magic in on himself and he freezes his heart because of the pain. And Dorian, I just felt so bad for him because he thinks that they didn't trust him. They were trying to protect him. Kale, he was just so selfless. Like, he's doing all this stuff for Selena and Dorian. He wants to get magic back so that they can be safe. Like, it doesn't affect him at all. Kale ends up all alone and he's still fighting for them even after everything he's been through with both of them. They both kind of shut him out. Like, I could see how he could kind of observe it, the way he kept doubting Selena and the way he didn't side with her for so long. But he didn't side with her. He didn't trust her because he sided with Dorian always. And even though it was really sweet when Dorian was like, she's my friend, I'm gonna protect her, and he was kind of mad at Kale for not automatically jumping to her defense, it's because he wanted what was best for Dorian always. I love Dorian and Kale's friendship so much. It's so reminiscent of Will and Jam. Dorian's magic is quite similar to Rowan's, but he has raw magic, so is it just like complete and utter potential? I wonder if he can do fire stuff as well. So we have these 3 towers, one in Knoll, one in Amarath, and we have the clock tower. They do their little experiment, and as soon as they knock one over, the magic disrupts, and so I'm assuming that's what they need to do. They need to take down one of the towers. I wonder how long it's going to take for that to happen, because when that happens, Rowan can finally come back over. I predict it will happen in the next book because otherwise it's too long to go without Rowan, but I think it'll be like the end or towards the end or something. I wonder if we're going to have Rowan as another perspective in the next one, so we'll be bouncing between Selena, Rowan, Manon, Kale and Ren, Aiden maybe in the dungeons. I wonder if we're going to see what's going to happen with Dorian. I wonder if he's going to be perspective. That'd be horrific to read. And obviously we have the Eastern Islands, and that's where the Volg are coming from. They're coming from the Eastern Islands. Oh, Ralph gets mentioned, the Pirate Lord Ralph, so I wonder if he's going to come into play again, because I can't imagine that little mention is it. And then we have the end. Sorsha, didn't dislike her, I just wasn't invested because I was pretty determined that wasn't endgame. She's too innocent, she didn't have enough stake in the game unless she had like a secret identity. I was really worried about the letters, like to her friend. As soon as she mentioned the first one, I was like, nah, who were you spying for? It turned out to be Ren, so it's okay. But for a while, I was really concerned. I loved it though how Dorian added her village to his map, so I wonder if he's ever gonna like meet her parents or ever gonna go to her village or anything. They all get dragged to the king's private quarters, and the way like Dorian hears about it and he runs straight to Sorsha, and then they get dragged in as well, and it's this private quarters. This can't be good. And there's all those guards with the secret tunic and the symbol, so the king has like a secret guard. I wonder if those are the ones that are like controlling the stuff with the wyverns and stuff as well. Chapter 64, we start with Aiden's perspective, like Aiden's saying about how he surveyed the room and he clocked all the exits and all the weapons, and then we kind of morph into Kale's perspective. And this happened with a couple. There was 1 or 2, I think, with Selena and Rowan, and would be in one of their perspective, and then we'd get a line or 2 that would be from the other one's perspective. I'm assuming it's not purposeful. I mean, this one particularly was weird because we started with someone and then we morphed into someone else. I don't know if we just didn't have that line divider thing like we should have. That's what it felt like. It felt like that was missing. Aiden just like insults the king and he declares himself a traitor and his queen's coming for you, and he gets taken off to the prisons. I'm assuming we're gonna get to Aiden before we're gonna get to Dorian because he's an easier one to get to. Although, the king said he's gonna use Aiden as a bait. It makes me a little bit nervous, that situation. It'll be okay. I wonder how long it's gonna take to get to Aiden. There's so much we need to happen that it can't all happen in the next book. I mean, it's a long book, so maybe it will. I will not go to any out, he growled, and I will not serve you a moment longer. There is one true king in this room. There always has been, and he is not sitting in that throne. Dorian stiffened, but Kale went on. There is a queen in the north, and she has already beaten you once, and she will beat you again and again, because what she represents and what your son represents is what you fear most, hope. You cannot steal it, no matter how many you rip from their homes and enslave, and you cannot break it, no matter how many you murder. And then the king orders for Kale to be killed. That's Dorian's breaking point. Unleashes his magic, and the king's like, I knew you had it. Ugh. But he knew this had been the other trap, one for Aiden and Aelin, and one for Sorsha. And this was to draw out Dorian's power. Dorian had known it too, known it and stalked into it so Kale could escape, to find Aelin and tell her what had happened here today. Someone had to get out, someone had to survive. He looked at his friend, perhaps for the last time, and said what he had always known from the moment they'd met, when he had understood that the prince was his brother in soul. I love you. Dorian merely nodded, eyes still blazing, and lifted his hands toward his father. Brother, friend, king. That melted my heart. I can't wait for Kale to save Dorian, and how him and Ren, like, he took his hand immediately. He didn't even hesitate that they're gonna go in and they're gonna save Adi and they're gonna save Kale. Dorian now has a collar on him, so that's horrific, and I don't want to talk about it. I really hope that the collar gets taken off Dorian in the next one. If anything happens in the next one, it has to be she could not get the word key, she could not kill Arabin, the towers could all stay up, Aiden and Aiden could not be reunited. Like, all these things we really want to happen. As long as Dorian gets the collar off, that's all I care about. Of course, all these other things would be nice too. Oh, and they all heard about news of Aiden defeating Naruk. Made it to Rifthold. Like, there was commotion on the streets and Aiden was celebrating, and there was like a chapter about hope was spreading everywhere, and it was so nice. Rowan and Aiden, I think, are my favourite new characters. They're such strong presences. Manon has potential to be. I wonder if we're gonna get more new characters. It wouldn't surprise me. The only other like overall thought I can think of right now is the war games were like such a big build up, and they weren't as epic as I expected them to be. They were kind of a little short. They won them so easily. That is everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye. The Wyvern, the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I forgot the name of the book. She had not understood what it had been like for him to live his... There is one, two...